Welcome everyone to this Venus Alchemy presentation on the evening star, root chakra, first gate, the life force, life center of the goddess. I'm Kaylin Castell here with Tammy Brunk, and we're so excited to share with you as the goddess is now rising from the underworld and making her first conjunction with the moon. Woohoo!
So, of course, we will be using the Inanna Ascent story as our guide. And so with this, knowing that we've all been through this underworld initiation as Inanna, demonstrated in the story that we've gone through this profound death and rebirth to who we've known ourselves to be, and that we're now at the phase where we're beginning the ascent and beginning this phase of deepening and of also integrating that initiation.
And so if you haven't had a chance to see it or are not totally familiar with the Inanna story, we do have a video on the class page that you can watch, and we highly recommend you watch that as soon as possible to really get the full background of how the Venus cycle is the telling of Inanna and how that works, and you'll have that better understanding as a result. So yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, totally recommend doing that before you get too far into this journey.
So the other, what we're going to be doing here at the very beginning is, and for some of you, if you've gone through the Morning Star, if you've done this before, it's just going to be, reviewing what these deep tools are that we use as we work with Venus, as we engage this ceremony. And of course, one of the most essential things is that we engage ceremonially with Venus and the moon. We spend time in the sky with the night sky, and in this case, the evening sky, with Venus in the evening sky. So if you haven't seen her yet, if you can find a good place where you can see a good sunset, then you should be able to see Venus, if not now, then fairly soon on a clear night. And we highly, highly recommend, this is the basis for ceremony, is simply spending more time with her, connect with her, sing to her, talk to her, just see her in the sky. And this is a deep aspect of what it is that of how we begin to have a relationship with Venus.
And of course, so there is sort of an ancient understanding that when the light of a planet or a star or the moon or the sun, whatever, hits our eye, it actually sends us information. So that's one of the reasons why just going out and being with it, and particularly at each gate, when the moon is with Venus, if you have clear skies, if you can make a commitment to going out and seeing it. If not, we will definitely be providing star maps in each of the classes that you can tune into if you can't see the sky. So
absolutely,
yeah, so important to go out and be with it if you can. And this is a Venus altar. This is kind of my Venus altar at the moment when we're doing this recording. The underworld time when most of the things are off of my altar. All the vestments that I've been taking off are gone. So this is sort of a bare bones altar at this point. But you can create your altar in any way that works for you. You can have one that you can add things to, or just recreate each month. It doesn't matter. And we also provided a video that talks more about how to create your Venus altar if you need some help with that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And just again to say, for some of us, we might have a expression of the goddess that connects to Aries in this case. And for some of us, we might have other objects that represent our own expression of the divine feminine. So there's no wrong way to do it, but this is one powerful, clear way.
Right. Yeah, I put me in at 18. I send her love all the time.
I love that. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, so I'm like, she needs that love and support.
Oh.
So that's why I put her in there. Anyway, so those are, and whatever symbols and things that really speak to you can that will help you, because basically the idea, and just this reminder, is that whatever's on our altar with intention, has symbolism and meaning to us, and the intention is holding that intention. When our eye sees it, we don't have to remember the full intention that we created that altar with, because it reminds our subconscious. So that's why altars are so great, because they help alter our awareness. Woohoo!
Yes, powerful.
Another thing you can do is create collages to put on your altar. So this is an example of one that, just different root chakra images for a healthy root chakra. You might come up with completely different ideas or things if this is something you like to do. And there are people who have created collages at every gate for every chakra on the ascent, to like really energize whatever it is that they're reclaiming as a healthy root chakra. So this is just a suggestion. It doesn't mean you have to do it or that you're not going to have as good an experience if you don't do it. But it can be something that for those who are really creative and like to do that kind of thing can be really helpful.
You just have that visual to really, with the symbol, and I love the way you've done this, and there are a million ways to do it, but to really work powerfully with the colors. And I'll just say too, for myself, when I do my altar, I actually often change the cloth on my altar to reflect the color of the chakra. And to say, there is some debate about each of the chakras. So it may be that as we speak to each of these chakras, that for us it's red. You may sense into the root chakra and you might find a different color. So
exactly.
Just know this is about your physical kinesthetic experience with each of the chakras, and we're just opening the doors to how we perceive of it.
Exactly. And the other thing is that, because there's also different understandings about the root chakra that people have. And so there may be different intentions that you have around it. So you might want to include visuals that help with that intention. And again, when you put this on an altar, or say you put it on a wall somewhere where you can see it often, it reminds the subconscious of the intention you created. So that's another powerful way of helping to support that reclaiming over the month that we're working with this particular chakra.
Absolutely.
So.
And it's so fun to have a Venus buddy. We highly recommend it. We're going to do everything we can to help you. At some stage in the next month, we will be giving you the opportunity to let us know if you want a Venus buddy or not, and we'll match you with someone. And we are Venus buddies, and we've found, in a way it's a basis for our collaboration, right? It's so much more fun to do this with somebody else. And it's a little unique for us because when we connect around these chakra gates, we're connecting like 2 weeks, sometimes more before the actual gate. So we start to sense into the energy before everything else. And it's so exciting to engage. So for all of you, to work with the questions together, to just really tune into and have this sister, this individual, even maybe you'll have a male buddy, which would be cool, to really go more deeply into the work.
Yes, and the other thing to keep in mind is that one of the things that Tammy and I have experienced is that she thinks of things, and that helps me think of things, and that helps her think of things. And so when you're doing that buddy thing, it really enriches your experience in ways that you couldn't imagine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's why we highly recommend it. It's not required. If you want to do it, awesome. If you don't want to do it, equally awesome. But we do recommend it, and people have gotten back to us and said it's been really amazing for them to do this journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we, one of the things that really, I think, just blew my mind in a good way, as so many things in this Venus cycle do, is to really begin to understand that when we're talking about ascension, so we're saying this is the evening star is the ascension path of the goddess. So it's the goddess fully coming up and out to the upper world from her experience in the underworld. It's actually almost, you could think of it as kind of almost an inverse kind of experience where we are actually coming into full embodiment, coming more and more into our experience here in the world on some level in an empowered way, claiming our wisdom, claiming our integration of our initiatory experience. So we're bringing the feminine fully into the world around us as we come up and out on the ascension path.
I just had this imagery of like everything that was transformed and transmuted in the underworld coming up like through the openings in the bottom of our feet all the way up our body, and it's like ascending up. So it's really bringing this energy into our body, and it's not about getting out of our physical embodiment. It's about getting more into it. That's what we're here to do.
Absolutely. That's what the Divine Feminine is all about.
Yes. Beautiful. You want to share?
So the ascension process is the transformation of the physical body, light body, and the consciousness that animates it in order to hold a higher vibrational state. So again, this is exactly the deeper work we've done, has been required for us to do a lot of our healing, which will continue. But that is so that we are capable of holding these higher vibrational states and really being these bright goddess energy spirits that we're here to be. And so our higher self is merging with our lower dimensional self after a very long separation in the 3D experience. And that is what we desire and energize for this period.
And really, I think part of the opportunity for us is to say yes.
Yes.
Yes to this opportunity, because unless we're inviting it into our experience, it may not really be part of our experience.
Absolutely. I love that you said that, because it's part of what the evening star journey is a bit different than the morning star, in that even though we think about ourselves in the morning star phase, or Inanna when she's choosing to go to the underworld, but there's so much that happens when she's letting go that can feel a little bit like we're at the effect of something, or I've sometimes thought of it as being, it's like you're falling. When you go down, you're falling. You do a descent, you're falling. There's a lot that actually you may think when you first start out that your will is in charge, but you quickly learn that you are not in charge. Right? And this is true when we come up and out as well in the evening star state, but there's more of a experience of, I love that saying, yes, we choose. We're more conscious. We're bringing our consciousness into the experience, and our maturity, which is to know we are divine. And so we get to claim for ourselves what this experience is about, as much as being in co-creative partnership with the divine.
Beautiful. Love how you said that. So, and part of the journey is also includes inviting our demons to tea. And this is part of the story, the Inanna story, that you'll find out in the video if you're not familiar with it, where these demons or daemons are told to go with her as she rises up from the underworld, because she has to send someone in her place. She has to choose someone to take her place. And so they go with her to make sure she doesn't renege on that promise.
Yeah, because they're going to bring that person down.
Right. And, we have this image of demons of being kind of scary. But actually the original meaning of the word daemon, as from the Greek, that later became demon, was the inner or attendant spirit, or benevolent or divine nature spirits. And so that this idea of inviting them to tea, like, what do they have to tell us? What is the wisdom that they have for us that perhaps we haven't really been attuned to before, when we're willing to engage that part of ourselves that maybe we haven't always wanted to. So who are these daemons or demons that are accompanying you in your journey from the underworld? And as we are engaging them, aligning with them, we do this at looking at them as allies rather than as something that we're trying to get away from, that we don't want to look at, that we see them as our allies, and that they have great information for us, and perhaps additional initiatory awareness that we can have with them as we ascend from the underworld.
And part of how we can think about that as well is that, on the way down, if you've done the morning star journey, or even if you didn't, that's an opportunity at each chakra gate to look at any of the distortions, anything we want to let go of. But often, and whether this is you're beginning the journey now or you were working with it then, what can show up in the evening star is that those aspects of self that we might have found to be very challenging, that we just feel like I'm stuck, I can never get over this, when we can turn our minds in a different direction, we can begin to see how that kind of quirk or that stuck place really reveals a deep gift about who we are and what our gift in the world is. So that's part of our intention as well, is to claim ourselves wholly. And this is part of it.
Yes. And so are the demons scaring you? I mean, these are good questions to just kind of be with. And at each gate, we'll have some questions for you to work with.
Yes.
Around what those demons might be. And then you can always add your own questions, of course, but we like to help people get started with that. Mm-hmm. And are they showing up as allies for you? And if, or are they showing up as both? Are they scaring you and are they helping you? Mm-hmm. And also, maybe they're scaring you, but maybe they're also helping you if you can just shift your perspective to recognize that they're allies for you. Right. Yeah. So we love them.
So yes, so now this is the point in the story, in the Inanna story again, where we're returning, and she's returning through root chakra gate. This is the moment in the story where she reclaims her royal robe, and she's beginning to reclaim her life force energy, her will to live, it might be a tender time for some of us, actually, because we have just gone through a deep initiation. So to be gentle with ourselves, I like to always think too, is important.
Yes, and so, this painting that was done by Sandro Botticelli in 1482 to 1485. So, it either took him 3 years to paint it, or they don't know. They don't know exactly.
Probably the latter.
But that was the information. Anyway, this is definitely, seems like Venus rising up. She's being returned her royal robe. So it's like she's rising up out of the underworld, and here's this red garment that is being brought to put around her. So it's such a perfect symbol for this part of the cycle.
Yeah.
And
I just love that you just discovered that.
So I just happened to be looking at this going, oh, it's red, and it's this garment that she's being returned. And in the story, the Inanna story, it's called the garment of ladyship. And it really represents her regaining her life force and all her earthly power. Mm-hmm. Like this is the thing that she needs to have to be able to complete or to go further with the journey. So it's so perfect. That's the first thing that happens when she comes up out of the underworld. And this painting really is showing that. So
yes,
cool.
Awesome. So the root chakra is the Muladhara, which is Sanskrit for root or support, and it's the foundation of the entire chakra system. So this month, we're really working at the foundations, and it governs our most basic survival needs, including feeling safe and secure, especially in our connection with loving family, community, or some other group. And so that's the first piece, is just this, to really anchor in that for this month, we're going to be presented with many opportunities to really gain our strength back in all of these areas and feel that strength of that sense of connection. And so when we've got that basis, then the Kundalini life force energy can move from the root chakra through all the other chakras, and it supports the experience of expanded states of consciousness and confidence in knowing all our needs are already fulfilled.
And that idea that, so I love this image here, because this is really showing the Kundalini coming up through the chakras, and it starts at the root, it starts at the base. So we have to have a good, strong foundation in order for that to happen. So it's such a perfect.
And I love that the wings at the heart are such a kind of an archetypal image, that's what happens. We develop wings from our hearts. That's really powerful.
Isn't it? That is so amazing. So, and then there's some cleansing and protection practices that we can also do at this chakra gate that can be helpful. Wearing black tourmaline because it's a stone that cleanses and purifies and transforms dense negative energy into high vibrational energy, and is a powerful stone for empaths. Also black obsidian, but any red stones too, like rubies, garnets, red granite. There's all other kinds of red stones that can be helpful and useful to work with during this time as well. And then do you want to do the next one, Danny?
Sure. So yeah, we can smudge with sage, cedar, palo santo, sweetgrass, and those are all beautiful things to cleanse and raise the vibration of our bodies, of our homes. And also, if we're dealing with really extreme, dense, or heavy energies, these are some other options. Dragon's blood. Sometimes there's even sage. It's called red sage, where they use some kind of dragon's blood on that. You can use that. Copal, salt water. I sometimes will make some salt water. I'll dissolve it in warm water, and when I shower, I just put it over my entire body. Cleanses and clears more deeply and effectively. Also, you can steep rosemary, and you can make, for like 20 minutes, fresh rosemary, and you can make an infusion that you then can bathe in that's extremely powerful for cleansing any kind of heavy energies.
And then another thing that you can do in terms of clearing your home or the space you live in is you can take just maybe some little pieces of napkin or paper towel or something, and put salt, like sea salt or something, in all the corners of the house, and maybe leave it for 12 to 24 hours, and it pulls all the negative energy out of the air. So if you've smudged and then you do the salt, but then the thing to do, make sure you do, is put it into running water. So flush it down the toilet when you pull that salt up, because it's got that energy and it needs to go out in a flow kind of way.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's another way we can do some cleansing. And I love doing that, and I haven't done it for a little while, so I think it's time.
I'm going to do it tonight.
Right? So when we're reclaiming a balanced root chakra, there are many expressions of that, and this is just some of them, but just to be reminded, because this is feeling when we feel grounded and stable and safe and secure. I've been really working a lot with safety and feeling supported as well. So I am safe, I am supported. Those can be some ways that you can energize that more fully in your own experience. It's also about feeling vital and alive, because that's that life force energy.
Yep.
And so if you're not feeling vital and alive, then what can you do to help bring more vitality? Can you exercise? Can you, or do more exercise, or exercise, some kind of exercise that really works for you? For me, walking, I love walking and hiking. So my favorite kind of exercise. There's some other things too, but and then, you know, and also things that help you feel joyful and happy. So if you're having experiences that aren't feeling so joyful and happy, then, and you can't do anything about them, well, there's that. But if you can create some ways of having more joy and happiness in your life, that's a great way to nourish your root chakra. And then, of course, healthy boundaries. We've talked a lot about this on the way down, of how important it is to have healthy boundaries, to be able to say no when you need to say no, and to say yes when it's good to say yes. So it's not having such strong boundaries that you don't let anything in, but not having boundaries that don't allow good things to come in at all. Or, you know, that you have a lot of stuff coming in that you don't really want to have to deal with. Right? And then another thing you can notice is, do you have thriving, healthy family? And this is a place where sometimes we might have toxic family members that it's better if we're not in relationship with them, or limited relationships. So you can kind of examine that and see, how is that working for you, so that you're really getting to experience more of a thriving, healthy family. It's not just blood family.
No.
It's friends and spiritual community, and all the different ways we create community and that sort of family belonging, you know, place. So being accepted and feeling like we're a part of something, that's really great for the root chakra. Along with having vibrant physical health, healthy sexuality, being practical and organized. That's, boy, can that take off a lot of stress when you're organized and you're not having to sort of, you know, do things in a way that causes you to get stressed out, right? So that you can just kind of breathe and be in the place of, being with that. So,
and again, it's like foundations and structure that this is the month to really tend to those things.
Yes. And if you don't have practices that help you with that, this is a great month to start looking at how can you create those practices and making a commitment to creating those practices.
Absolutely.
So also having a lot of self-confidence, healthy self-confidence. Sometimes people have self-confidence, but it's born more out of fear and, more negative energies. And so is it healthy? Is your self-confidence, do you have self-confidence? If you don't, how can you? And if you have self-confidence, then is it healthy? That's the question. That would be the question to consider. Having a connection with nature and the earth, going out and hiking, sitting on the earth. We're going to talk about this more, getting grounded with the earth. And then also flowing prosperity without attachment. Sometimes people can have a lot of prosperity coming in their way, but then they try to hang on to it and strangle it.
Yeah, right, because there's this underlying distrust.
Right? Because, oh my God, if I don't hang on to this, I won't have enough. So if we have a healthy, balanced root chakra, we'll be in a place of realizing that we have what we need, and it's going to continue to flow to us. Yeah.
So in order to reclaim that healthy root chakra, we've talked about this a little bit already, but just to continue healing the adrenals by resting when we need to. During the day, I love naps. I believe in them big time. If I've been especially using my brain really intensively, I'll take 20 minutes and totally feel renewed. Early to bed. We talk about this so much in the class. You'll discover this is a common theme. And of course, it's not true for everyone, but for many of us, it helps with dreaming. It helps, especially in this root chakra time, Because
And
we're
there is
also,
research that shows that the hours of sleep you get before midnight are worth 2 of the hours you get of sleep you get after midnight. So we've talked about this before, but it's just good to know. And so early to bed, early to rise makes a woman healthy, wealthy, and wise. Or the goddess, healthy, wealthy,
yeah,
and wise. Right?
yeah, it really, and to like establish that kind of foundation now could be powerful. And then also to eliminate acidic foods and beverages as much as possible. And again, I think at the root chakra, kind of like if you're working with Capricorn or Saturn, there can be the possibility of trying to get this perfectly. So just remember everything we're saying. You have your life to do this, but this can be a good month to really prioritize and think, how can I take small steps now? What can I commit to bring more of this in? So again, like eliminating acidic foods and beverages, reducing stress, activating oxytocin in the bonding hormone, which can be done through the breath, healthy food, restoring gut health, exercise, intimate connection with others, and gratitude, all the things. All of these practices, it's a good time to try to bring some of those back in, the ones that feel most essential. And then, of course, also physical activity, especially being outside, connecting with the earth. The root chakra is all about reconnecting with the earth, and a focus on thriving rather than surviving. So, just raising the vibration of our expectations and beliefs, and maybe scripting or affirmations or something that helps us to really begin to see and plant the seeds for our lives over the next 9 months or 8 months until the completion of the cycle in early November, so that we can kind of even begin imagining and feeling how we want our lives to unfold in this period of time, and anchoring that as thriving again, not surviving. And then wearing red clothes and or gemstones, eating red foods. I love this table that Kaylin created with ideas of red foods, and they're all really yummy,
And healthy, good for you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right, especially if they're organic.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So some grounding exercises that can be really good for the root chakra is you can send if you begin your day by sending a root or a grounding cord to the center of the earth, can be really helpful. You can also, if you have time and the weather supports it, you can lie on your belly on the ground. You can also get earthing mats that have the earth grounding energy, and lie on those as well. If it's frozen outside, it's like practical to get yourself on the ground. Also putting your bare feet on the earth, and or walking barefoot on the earth, or lying on the ground, hugging a tree. Tree hugging, so fun. And again, you can, if you don't have, if it's not supportive for you to go outside and do this, you can put your feet on a rose quartz crystal or some other crystal that has that earth energy connected to it, and that can help, and it can really have a nurturing, calming, stabilizing effect. And of course, African or other tribal form of dance, shaking your body, and including drumming. And the body shaking thing I have been doing for myself is before I get out of bed, because I find that I can shake my whole body for like a minute or two, or maybe even longer. I've kind of been building up, and shake my whole entire body, and then just stop for a moment and breathing with that, and feeling the rush of energy. It's like nitric oxide, which we're going to talk about in a minute, gets released into the body. It's powerful.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, so
Move
awesome. All right.
You want to talk about this, Kaylin?
Sure. So the Kegels for the pelvic floor. So actually, interestingly, I've been involved in a it's called it's the cervix, but they talk a lot about the pelvic floor thing on Facebook recently, and how important it is for to have strong muscles in our pelvic floor, because that's what holds our organs in place. So if they're weak, then things can be a little lopsided or off or whatever like that. So maybe taking some time to do some Kegel exercises and putting some attention on your own pelvic floor. So because if you don't have a healthy pelvic floor, you may have weak bladder control, or an inability or limited ability to have orgasms. And so at the root chakra, we really want to help improve that experience as much as possible. So you can do these Kegel exercises by contracting the muscles that are located between the anus and the genitals and strengthen the pelvic floor in that way. And like breathing in, contracting, breathing out, and relaxing can be really helpful. Or I actually like to do it the other way around, just because it's like bringing the breath down into the body and then bringing it up. So that's the way I see it. But there's no one right or wrong way to do it. So just whatever works for you. Repeating often. And the thing is, you can do this anywhere, anytime, in any situation. In fact, I'm doing it now.
I know, I was going to say, of course you are, and I am too, because that's what happens. Like, oh yeah, I need to do that.
Right. I know, I'm always, whenever we do this, I'm always reminded, like, oh, okay, I'm going to do that.
You should just do this class every day.
Right. Standing, sitting, walking, no one will know but you. So it's kind of like, your little secret way of activating that part of your body.
And think about it symbolically. I mean, like, seriously, literally, it's just like you're strengthening your foundation. If you do Qigong or Tai Chi or any of those martial arts, they will always have you do this practice where you focus in on your perineum. If you do Kundalini yoga, you do that, and it strengthens you, not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally. It is the foundation for your whole body to feel vibrantly alive. And
we literally move from this place. So if it's strong, so the perineum, that part of the body, and men have also their own pelvic floor, so it can be also helpful for them to energize this in their own way. I would imagine they would do Kegels too, and that could be really helpful. So it's where we move from. So if we want to go with strength, we want to go with a lot of energy, we want to have that life force activated, this is a great practice. So.
Absolutely.
And then we have the nitric oxide from Dr. Christian Northrup. She wrote a book, actually first came across this in her book on the sacred pleasures of menopause, which came to me in a time when I was still I guess I was mostly past menopause, but it was kind of, really, it's like before and after and during. It's a good book to connect in with. But one of the things she talked about in that book that really inspired me was this nitric oxide. I didn't even know about it before reading it. It's called the spark of life. It's made inside your body, and it's the mother of all feel-good molecules, which I love. So it helps you to feel happier, healthier, more alive, more fulfilled, more relaxed and energized. And it strengthens the immune system and prevents chronic degenerative disease. Like, what's not to like about this? And, being a bridge between the body and the mind. So there are some ways you can boost nitric oxide. I've already talked about the shaking one that is listed here. But again, the healthy lifestyle, including getting plenty of sleep, diet, exercise, having a positive perspective on yourself, working with gratitude, foods like spinach, garlic, beets, walnuts, lemons, raw cacao, sunshine even helps activate nitric oxide in our body. And then, of course, reducing stress, letting go of doing too much, forgiveness of ourselves and others, really great for helping that. And of course, any kind of healthy pleasure and intimacy, including, and especially including sexual pleasure, can be really helpful for that release. And what I was saying earlier about the shaking is that what I feel is like this rush of nitric oxide goes through my body after I lay in bed and shake a little bit before I get up. And part of what I like to imagine is that I'm shaking out my false self so I can get up with my true self. Mm-hmm. And then if you combine that with the oxytocin breath, the ha breath while you're shaking, that actually also increases the power of what this is. So pretty cool.
Powerful. So when we are, the way we're seeing this work with Venus just generally is that we are, and we've been guided from the very beginning by the Circle of the Grandmothers, who are all about supporting us and guiding us in really dreaming in this new earth consciousness. And so this is the place where we begin to initiate that process. We're working with the earth element at the root chakra, and understanding that the world is as you dream it, meaning that every reality is a matter of perception. and we have dreamed it, therefore it is. So this is the place where we begin with the foundation that everything we think and feel is merely a perception, that our lives, individually as well as communally, are molded around such perceptions. And if we want to change, we have to alter our perceptions. When we give our energy to a different dream, the world is transformed. To create a new world, you must first create a new dream. This is John Perkins.
And John Perkins also, he also wrote the book, The Confessions of an Economic Hitman. But because he was going down to South America, and the shamans there were saying, you need to bring people down here so we can help change the dream of the planet, because what people are dreaming into now is destroying it. So then he wrote this book, The World is As You Dream It, because that's what he learned from them. And he's reminding us that how important it is that we take responsibility for changing the dream that we're living in at this time.
And that's also part of our vision with Venus Alchemy, is to support that. And because we're doing this collectively, and we're all about bringing the divine feminine down and into the world once again, and balance with sacred masculine. So it's, we get to do this together. We get to dream this together.
Exactly. So our dreams can affect everyone and everything else if we energize them with enough power. Actually, probably he also said the energy created by our dreaming is like the air. It travels everywhere. Your ability to use this energy is only limited by your dream of its power. So if we understand that we have this power to dream something new and different for ourselves and for the earth, and of course it always starts with us. So, right? And I have to say, I've been really enjoying the dream of my life much more in the last few years than I have ever in my whole entire life. So
beautiful.
Must be doing something right.
Yeah.
So you want to think about it, talk about it, meditate on it, journey on it, shout it out, share it, sing it, give it voice, see it, feel it, hear it, smell it, taste it, be it. And basically John Perkins says that. And, that it's something, if we really put our time and energy into this, then the whole earth will respond. And especially if we're giving it voice and song. So, make up a song about the new earth and how you'd like it to be.
and also recognize, as we're doing this, it may be that at certain points in your journey or in your life, you're a little bit out of balance and you're focused too much on what's happening in the world around you, and this kind of more disembodied experience or idea about how the world should be. And if it feels that way, then bring it in and really focus it on yourself. What is the world you want to experience for yourself personally? And think about that, talk about that, meditate on that, sing that out, and know that that also has huge ripple effects, and that's almost that's the requirement before we can really, or in conjunction with like exhaling and inhaling, to really then dream that dream bigger, outer, and with others, to start with ourselves.
Yeah, if we find ourselves getting adrenalized, stressed out, in our fight, flight, or freeze place, if we have an invocation, and it can be a short sentence, just a few words, 6 words, 9 words, not too many words, that really sums up our intention. And then we breathe to help bring us back into a place of greater ease, and then start singing out whatever it is that we've created as our invocation or a chant to the new earth. That can help shift our own personal place of feeling like we're stressed, or that we're in fight, flight, or freeze, or whatever that might be, however that might be showing up for us. And it does work when we remember to do it.
Absolutely.
I don't always remember, but
right.
As soon as I remember, then I start doing that, and it will shift everything pretty fast. But sometimes I'm just really caught up in whatever's going on.
Definitely.
And that's okay. And then we just forgive ourselves and move on. So. This is a collage that I created, and this is something that you can also do because, and put on your altar, whatever it is that you're dreaming for the new earth. And I put in a lot of words that I felt would be something I would like to experience in a new earth energy. So this is just the balance between the elements of earth, water, fire, and air. This is just an example to inspire you in case you might feel like it's something you want to do for yourself.
Yeah, and if you do, and whether you do, you may do a collage like this, you may use magazines, you might do some other certain like journaling exercise, whatever the purpose is to begin to feel and experience what that's like for you. And to get really, I think because we're at the root chakra, get really specific about that, really tangible. What are the elements of it that you want in your personal life? What are the elements you want to experience on a day-to-day basis? What do you see in the community around you that reflects some of these principles? And begin to really focus your energy and your attention there. And, have that be a practice. Focus your attention there.
And something else you can think about too is that ideally what we're doing when we're dreaming the new earth is dreaming into the higher vibrational energies that come from love and higher. So if we're in guilt, shame, fear, blame, hurt, pain, complain, it's okay to complain sometimes. Sometimes you need to vent and get that out. But if that's all you're doing, then that's the reality you're creating. So if you can get to that place of gratitude and forgiving unforgivable things that have happened and focusing on the things that you really want, it just changes everything. It's amazing. It's very powerful tool for us to use. Mm-hmm. This is a Celestial Earth Declaration that was written by Nicole Christine, who was my mentor in the priestess process back when I started in 1995. And she was inspired by Rowena Patty Kreider, who wrote a book and created a Gaia Matrix Oracle. This is one of the cards in the Oracle called Celestial Earth. And so this declaration was something we used a lot in my priestess work. And I'm inspired to just share it with you in case it's something I memorized it. I still have most of it memorized. I probably could rememorize it again really quickly because I haven't used it as much lately, but I can pull out most of it on the spot if needed. So this is the declaration. We are celestial earth. Our bodies are illumined and we are one with heaven and earth. All the tribes are gathered, dancing in harmony with nature. In pure acts of devotion, we give and receive equitably of our true selves for the greatest good and co-creatively construct a new earth fulfilled in love, beauty, harmony, abundance, joy, and sacred union with all that is. It is done, it is so, and all heaven and earth rejoice. And the other reason I share this is if you want to create your own affirmation, maybe it's different from this. This is like gives you an idea of how you can do that. It doesn't have to be very long. It can even be shorter than this. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's powerful when you choose to create it yourself. So some of the questions you might consider over the course of the next month would include these. What are the areas of my life where I feel deeply supported? And how can I grow that feeling even more? Because again, we're in the claiming and integration phase. What are my foundations in the areas of community, health, and financial resources? And how can I strengthen those even more? So again, just really where, even if it feels like it's tiny or it's small, I don't have very much, but it's this, grow that. And then what dream seeds do I want to plant and nourish for myself and for the new earth? What actions can I take to nourish these seeds in my life and in the collective dream?
All excellent questions. And you can add, you don't have to stick to these questions, but we just want to really make sure you get started, and they're really excellent questions.
This starting point, because again, one of the tools we recommend highly, I don't think we have it in here, but it's a Venus journal.
Yes.
So we often recommend that people begin, if you haven't already, if this is new for you, to get a special journal that embodies for you and the energy of that journal. Take a little time. It's okay if you don't have it quite yet. To go obviously, but to hold the energies of what it is that you're wanting to experience in your life over the course of this ceremonial window of the Venus evening star. You're taking this time for yourself. You're investing in yourself. And to get a journal that you can really begin to explore these kinds of questions and what comes up for you and how you are transforming over the course of this journey.
And when you write them, things come through that you wouldn't have thought of otherwise. So it's really powerful to do that. And also the Venus journal, the ceremonial altar, all that is covered in the, I forget which video it is, but additional resources.
Something about ceremonial tools or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. And it's on the class page, so you can access that.
So in terms of what it is that every month we'll have home play exercises that we suggest. And again, we often will say, if there's something here that feels really energetically exciting for you, really juicy, then do that. If there's something that you have a lot of resistance to, consider that. Maybe that's also something that you could gain a lot from. But, your choice, whatever feels resonant. So one of the first exercises could be to see the new earth. So you might use Kalen's, or you might create your own Dreaming a New Earth slide. In any case, whether you reference Kalen's or you create your own, you will choose those 4 elements. You might journal about these. You might look for images that represent this, but with the different elements in Kalen's exercise, or different concepts that emerge from working with earth, fire, air, water, choose 1 or more concepts from each element to energize in your life and the world around you. So this month, make it your game to grow these things in the world around you. So for example, from Kalen's list, from her collage, if you chose clean energy, where can you use clean energy? Where is it showing up in your community and across the globe? And feed this with your attention and resources. I would also say, and this is something that I've learned from having cultivated a practice around doing this on a regular basis, if it's an outer thing like clean energy in the world around you, also tune into how that fits with your inner life. So if you want clean energy in the world outside of you, how is your own energy flowing? Are you clean and clear in the way that you are in exchange with others in terms of your energy? Is there a way, a practice you need to use to be able to make sure that your energy is clean and clear? Do you need to raise your energy by more exercise, things like this? So whenever possible, when you want to create that outer world, that new world, look inside as well and see the correlation. So where is it showing up in your own life that this energy needs to be addressed? And where is it showing up in your community across the globe? And what's exciting about doing it in your community as well, though, is that you can, if you're not putting your attention on this, you may not be aware that your city has special incentive programs to move to all wind energy by 2025. Or you might not be aware of all of the things around you, the businesses that are trying to promote that. But once you really actively begin to map that out and see what's happening in your community, you're going to be amazed, because we live in a time where so many people are waking up and so many people are creating the opportunities for us to engage in these new kinds of energy and resources. And it's not just the government that's doing it. It's happening everywhere. So feed that. And if you choose, for example, something more emotional, more internal, forgive the unforgivable, challenge yourself on a personal level to forgive something you previously believed to be unforgivable. And when I say this, I would say first, if you, like me, I can't really think of anybody I haven't forgiven. Honestly, it's just, I think maybe I'm too much of an empath. I don't know what that is. So it's often I need to forgive myself. So if there's something you cannot forgive yourself for, really look at that and work with that and ask for help forgiving yourself. And then look at the world around you for people practicing radical forgiveness, maybe radical self-forgiveness. Look for friends and people who you admire who have been able to do that. Feed this with your attention, or in the larger world, and resources, and share these stories, offer prayers, maybe lend financial support where that can be helpful. Again, in any of these physical, tangible areas where you see the new earth emerging around you. And then share what you learn on Facebook or with us by email.
So if you're not on Facebook, definitely share with us via email, and we'll make sure that it gets shared in class. Yeah. And if you're on Facebook, hopefully we can, if you're not on Facebook, I guess you just miss out. Unless we find we have time to maybe incorporate some of that into our sharing as we go forward. So anyway, yeah.
So yes, you want to talk about this, Kaylin?
So just some additional resources. Feeding Your Demons by Sultra Mauleon is a great practice that I know you've practiced, Tammy. I've done a little. My youngest son has done a lot. She's written a book about it. So, it's a way. You want to say a little more about that?
Sure. It's a very powerful practice. Lama Sultrim was the first ordained, I think, female Lama from the West, and she runs a Tara Mandala Center in Pagosa Springs, Colorado. And this practice is, it's basically where you go into, I think it's Gestalt therapy that it draws from. It takes an ancient practice and it converts it into something that we can use now, where you really tune into an issue, something in your life that is very challenging for you, an area of suffering or of something you struggle with, and you allow yourself to feel the energy of that, see it, sense it, allow it to take the form of a demon of some sort, and with limbs, with a particular skin color, with just that it becomes a being, it becomes an entity. And then the rest of the practice is you basically being in conversation with this, you actually sitting in the place of that demon and seeing what it wants, needs, and needs from you in order to feel fed, in order to transform. And by the end of the practice, often what will happen is that either it disappears or it transforms into an ally. It's a really powerful practice.
Yes, and the other thing about Lama Tsultrim is that she, her place, Tara Mandala, is I think it's the only place in the United States, and maybe only one of two in the whole entire world, Buddhist retreat centers that are dedicated to the goddess Tara, or to a goddess of any sort, of the feminine.
Wow, and that right there kind of blows your mind, right?
Yes. Yeah,
it's pretty powerful. What age we're living in, that we're coming out of, thank goodness.
Right. I went there when we dropped my youngest son off, who volunteered there for a few months, and there's a beautiful temple. It's an incredible place. I highly recommend people go if they get a chance. It's pretty amazing. Awesome. So then we have The World is As You Dream It, the book that I talked about. It's a great book, highly recommended. And John Perkins also, along with Lynn Twist, started the Pachamama Alliance. So that's helping to change the mass consciousness so that we can create a new dream, a new way of being in the world, a more positive future. And then, of course, Generation Waking Up is similar to that. I think it kind of maybe was an offshoot even of Pachamama Alliance, to help ignite the younger generation to bring forth a thriving, just, sustainable world. Yes, and we can help.
We can be part of that.
Yes, we can. So,
thank you. Sweet. Beautiful.
Yeah, so have a great month, and we're excited that you're on the journey with us.
Absolutely, and we can't wait to connect with you live, hopefully, in our first class.